Hey everyone, it's Miss Zbinden. I'm going to do a quick book talk on Before We Were Yours by Lisa Wingate. This is a mystery, but it's also one of our crossover titles, which means it was marketed to an adult audience, but there's a story in here that's told by a young person, which is really appealing to teenagers. So you might like it just because it's a really good mystery also. So there's two stories and they're told in alternating chapters. And at first you think, well, why are these two being told together? But there's a thread that connects them that you slowly uncover through the course of the book. And so we have the first story, which is told in present day. And it's the story of a girl named Avery Stafford, and she's an attorney. She works for her dad, who's a senator, and he has some health issues. So she's kind of being groomed to take over this Senate seat of his. And she accompanies him to this nursing home where he's going to give this speech, and there's press there. And as he's giving the speech, she kind of pokes around in the nursing home and she runs into this woman named Judy. And she walks this woman back to her room. And this is where she notices this picture that's sitting in Judy's room. And she's really intrigued by this picture because she feels like she recognizes someone in there. It's someone in her family that looks really similar to this person in this photo. And so she starts to think that her family has a tie to Judy, even though she doesn't know them, and none of her family members seem to know her. So there's that story. And in addition to that story, we have another story that kind of runs parallel to this one. And this one is the story of a girl named Willfoss. And her story takes place in the 1930s. Now, Rill and her family are super poor. They live on this houseboat. Her mom is pregnant with her sixth child and she goes into labor, and there's a midwife there, but there's horrible complications. The midwife runs away, and the father has to literally rush her mom to the hospital, and he leaves Rill in charge of her four siblings on this houseboat, and they're gone for several days. And on one of these days that they're gone, these people board the houseboat and they kidnap the Foss children and they take them off to this orphanage that is connected to the Tennessee Children's Home. Now, this is where it's really interesting with the story. The Tennessee Children's Home is actually a piece of American history. In the 1930s, this home operated for many years. And what they did was the people who operated this home, and the sheriff was involved, and court personnel, money was transferring hands, was they sought out poor people who had children, and they kidnapped these children from these poor people, and they took them to this home and they cleaned them up, and then they sold them to wealthy families. And this is what happens to the Foss children. And so this is the second story that kind of runs parallel to Avery's. Now, Avery is trying to uncover this photograph, the mystery of this photograph, and it takes her into some really interesting places. And she begins to realize that she and her family have a connection to this Tennessee Children's Home. And so that's kind of the thread that goes back and forth between these two stories. So super interesting mystery, real back and forth. And if you like a mystery, it's just a great one to pick up. So this was Before We Were Yours by Lisa Wingate. And if you like it, please click on the link on this page after you click off this video and order this title. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.